Yo, what's up YouTube? It's your boy Zeta, and a little while ago I made a video explaining why Dragon Ball Super is Outerversal. To make a video of explaining why Dragon Ball GT is Outerversal. According to most power scaling definitions, the definition of Outerversal is something with essentially no dimensional limitation. In other words, being unbounded by the concepts of space and time or transcending dimensionality. In the Dragon Ball GT story, we are met with a place called the Sugoroku Space, which is a realm that Goku was sent to after being warped by Baby's revenge death ball. Okay, so number one, anything that exists outside of space and time conceptually is Outerversal existentially. This is very true. This is literally ABC of what the definition of Outerversal is. Number two, the Sugoroku Space exists outside of time and space conceptually. Pay attention to this. I'm gonna get back to number two later. And three, from one and two, the Sugoroku Space is Outerversal existentially. Number four, Goku is shown to be capable of destroying the Sugoroku Space using his AP, and this is very obvious because we quite literally see him destroyed with a single Kamehameha in his base form. So yeah, very obvious. Number five, from three and four, the Sugoroku Space is Outerversal existentially, and Goku is capable of destroying the Sugoroku Space with his AP. Sugoroku Space in the Dragon Ball GT story is stated to exist outside of space and time. But what form of time does the Sugoroku Space exist independently from? It could be outside of the universe space-time. It could be outside of conventional space-time, like 4D, 5D space.
It's literally stated that Goku was warped into a different dimension of space, and that the Sugoroku Space has been referred to as an alternate dimension reached by warping the fabric of space-time, much like Gotenks and Super Buddha in the Buu saga. Being between unspecified space-times and dimensions does not prevent it from being inside another space-time. Nor is it stated that it doesn't have those things or that it doesn't exist inside a space-time. Data himself admits that it simply can refer to being outside of the universes. And in fact, a metaphysical realm with no concept of space and time cannot exist between dimensions, since that implies a physical location, which requires it to be inside a space.
So number one, the Sugoroku Space is similar to the subspace. This is true because the Chosenju quite literally explains that the Sugoroku Space and the hyperbolic time chamber are similar examples of the subspace. Number two, the Sugoroku Space lacks space and time, which I showed earlier in the video. And number three, the subspace exists outside of space and time. If you read what the Chosenju says that the subspace lacks the concept of space and time and is separated from any area. Given the abductive reasoning that I just provided to you, it now creates the most plausible conclusion that when they say outside of space and time for the Sugoroku Space, it's in context talking about being outside of the concepts of space and time, which matches the criteria for Outerversal.
Except once again, it's literally referred to as being inside a different dimension of space. This alone destroys your entire argument. Data thinks that just because Sugoroku Space is mentioned in the same sentence as the subspace, that makes it nearly identical to it and it must lack the concept of space and time. He ignores how the hyperbolic time chamber is also mentioned in the same sentence as the Sugoroku Space, a dimension with time, space, gravity, temperature, physical matter, and can be reached by opening holes in the space-time continuum of the universe. It's much more likely that this simply refers that they exist inside the subspace.
Because it's stated to be between dimensions, it means it's not beyond dimensions, even though this argument completely ignores how dimensional tiering works. Let me just use mathematical set theory as an example to easily debunk this terrible argument. So suppose I have something of an infinite three-dimensional manifold, aka an infinite universe. Now imagine there are two infinite universes. How can there be two infinite universes if one of them is already infinite? You can't have two infinities. Well, actually you can. Thanks to higher dimensionality, there can now be multiple infinities, as these infinities exist outside of these other infinities, and without higher dimensionality, the existence of more than one three-dimensional manifold is going to be impossible. So now that we established that two infinities can exist simultaneously due to higher dimensionality, the higher dimensional space is basically the space that exists in between those two infinities.
And this here is why Beta is such an F tier and gets his ass kicked every time he debates. There is a difference between a metaphysical realm with no concept of space and time and a higher dimension that simply surrounds the two universes. A higher dimension is still bound by space and time, and it still has a physical location. A metaphysical realm that exists outside of the concept of space and time cannot be located between two universes, since universes are located inside bigger spaces. If Sugoroku Space is located between two universes, then that naturally means it's located inside the space that contains the two universes. And no higher dimensions don't exist between universes, they contain and surround them entirely.
The argument is that GT Goku doesn't scale to the Sugoroku Space because the Sugoroku Space dimension was already being broken down, so all Goku was doing was just speeding up the process with a Kamehameha and busting out of there. The game was breaking down, not the Sugoroku Space. If the game breaks down, then Goku's still able to wander in between dimensions because the Sugoroku Space is quite literally the space that's between dimensions. So the fact that Goku would still be able to wander in between dimensions quite literally destroys this argument, and the semantics are genuinely terrible.
We have multiple official sources saying that Sugoroku Space itself was unraveling upon itself and was collapsing, not just the board game. And just because Goku was going to wander between dimensions does not mean that Sugoroku Space did not collapse upon itself. There is literally no logical connection between your argument and the conclusion you're making. You don't even know how to formulate an argument. On top of that, it's implied that Goku simply escaped Sugoroku Space as opposed to destroying the whole dimension. There are so many better GT feats to use, and this wall tier literally uses the worst of them all. It seems that his only good GT scaling is the one that he takes from me.